Welcome to Unlocking Passion. Men Report. Today you will hear the story of Peter, a 70-year-old from Germany. He was a man who believed that with the beginning of his retirement in Thailand, he would find the happiness he had lost in Germany through the death of his wife. However, in the end, he was left only with the realization that love is sometimes the most expensive illusion in the world. Stay tuned until the end, because then you will find out what Peter really lost and what you can learn from it so that you do not have to suffer a similar fate. This is his story. Let's go. My name is Peter, I am 70, and I come from a small village near Rosenheim in Bavaria. My life was never spectacular, but it had structure: shift work, the warehouse, the forklift, and then home to my wife and my son. For 40 years, it was one and the same: honestly earned money and honestly worn out bones. Then, in 2009, my wife Karen died of breast cancer. From then on, the house was too big, the table was too empty, and every day was too quiet. My son had long since moved out with his own family and his own life. We talked on the phone sometimes, politely but distantly, like two strangers who remember old times and yet do not get along. At 64, I took early retirement with deductions. I just wanted to get out of the warehouse. At first, I thought that was freedom, but after a few months, it became empty and eerie. No rhythm, no task, only the television, microwave meals, and silence. One evening, I got stuck watching a YouTube video. A man my age on the beach in Thailand, a young, attractive woman by his side, both laughing as if it were the most normal thing in the world. He spoke of the simple life, of the happiness that the sun, sea, and affection bring. I clicked replay. Then again, and eventually, I thought, could I not be this guy? I did not deliberate much longer and sold my house, paid off the remaining debt, and withdrew my savings. After everything that was left, I had almost 85,000, my whole life in numbers. In the autumn of 2022, I booked a one-way ticket to Bangkok. No return flight, no plan B. Only the hope for a better life. In January 2023, I was on the plane heading to Thailand. When I opened the door of the arrival hall in Bangkok, the air hit me like a blow: hot, humid, and damp. This combination suddenly made me feel alive again. I rented a small hotel room a bit outside the action, ate noodle soup on the roadside, talked with other Farangs, and every night, I listened to the city breathe. Here, no one asked what or who I used to be. I was simply there, an old man among millions and yet somehow free. In a bar, I met Ronnie, an old guy from the Ruhr area in Bochum, who looked like Santa Claus after too many years of sun and beer. He grinned and said, "Bangkok is loud, kid. If you want it quieter, go to Pattaya. It is especially cheaper, but do not fall in love. That would be your downfall." I laughed and only understood later how right he was. 2 weeks later, I was in a minivan to Pattaya. I thought my second life was finally beginning. I had rented a small apartment in Jomtien, a quiet side street far from the bright neon lights, but close enough to smell the sea when the wind was right. It was not very large, but it had a small kitchen and a balcony. It was 8,000 baht a month, around 200. Not much comfort, but for me, it was paradise. I lived simply: coffee on the balcony, walks on the beach, street food, and a few beers in the evening in various bars. I spoke with other expats and a few women, but the conversations always remained on the surface. Deep down, there was this hole that even the sun, the sea, and paid love could not fill. And then I saw her. She sat every afternoon in front of a small massage parlor, about 10 minutes from my apartment. A plastic chair, a bottle of iced tea, a phone in her hand. I passed by there almost every day, and each time she looked up, smiled briefly, and nodded. Not an exaggerated smile, not a forced look, just warm. Honest, I thought. After a few days I stopped. "Sawasti crab," I said awkwardly. She laughed, that soft, unobtrusive laugh that stays in your ears. "You walk here every day, you shy?" she asked. I shook my head and grinned, and so it began. Her name was Nin, actually Nintara, but hardly anyone called her that. She was 38 years old and from Buriram, a poor province in northeastern Thailand. Her mother was sick, and her niece lived with her. Her father had disappeared early. She did not tell me this to get pity. She spoke calmly, as if that were simply her life. And maybe it was exactly that which captivated me. No drama, no mask, only gentleness and honest eyes. She worked in the massage parlor, but not the other kind, as she emphasized. Only massage. No boom boom, she said and grinned. I believed her, or I wanted to believe her. 2 days later, I went inside for the first time. She massaged me, spoke softly, and asked if I had a family. I told her about my wife who had died of cancer, and that my son lived far away. She briefly laid her hand on my arm and said, "You have kind eyes, P. You good man." And in that moment, something was different. After the massage, she said, "I'm free Monday. You want eat Thai?" I nodded. She smiled, wrote her number on a slip of paper, and pressed it into my hand. A piece of paper that was to change my life forever. On Monday, we met at a street stall behind the market. Somtam, grilled chicken, plastic chairs, just the two of us. She ate with her fingers, laughed at my facial expressions from the spicy food, and wiped the sweat from my forehead with a napkin. So natural, so close, that I felt like a human being again, not like a tourist, not like an old man, but like someone who deserved a second chance. We began to see each other regularly. She came by after work, brought food, cleaned my kitchen, and put flowers in an empty beer bottle I had left from the night before. I asked why she did that. She shrugged her shoulders. "Because you alone, same me." I should have known that this gentleness was dangerous, but back then, I only wanted to believe that she was real. Soon she came by regularly. She cooked, laughed, and tidied up, as if she simply belonged in my life. I had forgotten how beautiful it is when someone asks in the evening, "How was your day?" I remember. At the end of March, she stayed overnight for the first time. No show, no business, just closeness. I called her my little sunshine. She called me Peter, Big Brother Peter. And for the first time in years, I felt young again. A few months later, we talked about a common future, about a small house, a dog, maybe our own street stall. And I believed her every word. In the summer of 2023, we found it. A small house on the edge of Pattaya. Bright rooms, a large garden, a beautiful driveway. The price was around 1.8 million baht, almost 47 zalosan. I could pay in cash. She explained to me that foreigners are not allowed to own land in Thailand. "I put in my name," she said. "We live together. I never leave you." I should have said no, but who wants to show mistrust when they feel love? We furnished everything: furniture, a large bed, curtains, a TV. I bought her a used car for trips to the family, I thought, and a small noodle cart, because she dreamed of cooking for tourists and earning her own money. We bought ourselves a dog and called him Lucky. I was head over heels in love, and in those weeks, I really thought I had found great happiness. One morning, she got up early, made breakfast for both of us, and hummed softly to herself. After breakfast, she suddenly stood up and said she had to go to Buriram. Her mother was sick, only for one night. I offered to accompany her, But she smiled. Too far, Peter. Then she kissed me, stroked Lucky, and left. 2 days later, no message came. I wrote, I called, no answer. On the third day, I drove into town and looked for her at the massage parlor. The woman there shrugged her shoulders and said, Nin quit 1 month ago. I stood there, confused, thinking she had made a mistake. I asked around at the market and of neighbors. No one knew anything. When I came back to the house in the evening, I wanted to unlock the gate. The key did not fit the lock. The lock was new. The curtains were drawn. Not a sound inside. Lucky did not bark. I knocked, called, waited. Nothing. I felt like I was in a horror film and did not want to admit that this situation was reality. I rented a small room for 1 night and did not close an eye. The next morning, I went to the district administration. There, I was told the house had been sold days ago, in cash, to a new owner. In her name, of course. Everything was legal. No fraud, no proof, no way back. I sat there, the papers in my hand, and felt the ground slip away from under me. Almost a 70,000 gone, house, car, furniture, dreams, everything. And the worst part, I could blame no one but myself. I moved into a small room, fan, mold on the wall, 4,000 baht a month, around 100. I became severely depressed and started drinking. My last reserves went toward alcohol and paid love. I was at the end and, dead drunk. I called my son in Germany. I hoped he would say, "Come home, Papa." Instead, he only said, "You sold us out for Thailand. Never call again." Then he hung up. That was the moment when I understood that I had not only lost my money, but also the rest of my family. I stopped drinking. I had to, otherwise I would have perished. After a few weeks, I found a room in Chonburi. Small, clean, 6,000 baht a month. Today I live on my German pension, almost 1,500. It sounds like a lot, but after fees, health insurance, and the luxuries of past days, it is just barely sufficient. Sometimes I help other retirees understand forms or accompany them to immigration. A small favor here, a few thousand baht there. That is how you keep your head above water. In the evenings, I often sit in the small bar on the corner, drink a soda with ice, and listen. Many men tell the same story, only with different names. One says in Thailand, you do not just lose your money, but also your pride. I nod and remain silent. I live quietly, almost invisibly. No more big dreams, no trust, only the sea, the heat, and the realization that you cannot escape yourself. Today, in the autumn of 2025, I am still here. Thailand is beautiful, but not for dreamers. I get up early, go to the beach, and watch the sun rise over the water. Sometimes I think of Nin, of Lucky, of the house with the colorful curtains. Then I feel that sting in my chest, not out of anger, but out of disappointment. I lost over 80,000, my second great love, my home, my dog, my family. But what I really lost is trust in others, and, above all, in myself. If you ask me today whether I regret everything, I say yes and no. Because somewhere between illusion and pain, I understood that what I was looking for was not in Thailand, but was missing within myself. That was the story of Peter. A man who believed love could heal what loneliness had destroyed. But in Thailand, he learned that love is not a promise. It is a risk, and sometimes the most expensive feeling you can enter into. But one thing is important for me to say, not all women in Thailand are like this. There are honest, loyal, warm-hearted people here. But also many who act out of necessity, out of poverty, out of fear. In Peter's story, it is not about guilt, but about trust, and what happens when you give it away blindly. If you yourself have experienced a story about love, loss, or hope in Thailand, then write to me. You can find the email address in the channel description. I read every message personally. Perhaps I will also tell your story here at Unlocking Passion. Subscribe to the channel, share the video, and stay careful.